Hello everyone, this is Michelle. For those of you who don't know me, I'm primarily a nature and macro photographer, and today I wanted to show you my edit on this Dianthus. I'm going to be showing you how I get rid of background distractions. In this case, it's going to be this little grouping of blossoms down here and this little green piece in the corner here, and basically going to go from where I started here to where I finished here. So the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to be using my clone tool to get rid of this. I've got a lot of really good kind of blended blurry background that'll be easy to pull from. So I'm going to use that to my advantage. I'm going to take my background here. I'm going to drag it down and make a duplicate copy. You can always right click and hit duplicate layer here if you prefer. I'm going to next grab my clone tool. I'm using my soft brush. My hardness is at 0%, and I'm going to start around 70% for my opacity. So I'm just going to grab any area, and I'm going to hit my Alt key, grab that area, and I am going to just start painting on this side over here. I'm going to go from a bunch of different areas just so that it doesn't look like I am repeating patterns. So that's why I want to move to different areas just so it doesn't look like it's the exact same thing over and over and over. That can give you away as far as your cloning goes and your finished product. Someone will be able to notice really easily that you you use the clone tool if you are sticking in the same area and it's just a repeated pattern. So I'm just going to sample all over. I keep going too close to the edge. You can see I'm getting straight lines. Make sure that that doesn't happen. Scroll in, zoom in here, and make sure that I've kind of gotten rid of what I'm trying to get rid of. Actually looks pretty good to me. Not too bad. And then there's a pattern down here, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that just so that it doesn't look too weird. I mean, it doesn't matter. You can probably actually grab from up here too if you want. Let's see. Yeah, that's not too bad. It doesn't matter. In this case, like I said, everything is so blurry and varied that you can pull from anywhere and do a pretty good job. So that was the original, and now we're here. Looks pretty good. I'm gonna fix this up a little bit. I don't really care for that too much. That looks a little bit better to my eye. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I want to really bring the light to the middle here and make the background darker. Okay, so I'm going to grab my lasso tool and I am going to kind of just circle this area just loosely, and then I'm going to right click and select inverse because I want to apply it to the this area out here and not this area in here. I'm going to go down to my adjustment layer, add a curves layer, and you can see that everything that is white is what it's going to be applied to. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to change this to luminosity so it changes the light and not the color, and I'm just going to go ahead and oh, I forgot to feather. That is a good thing to show you. Let me redo that. I'm going to get rid of that, redo that. Forgot to feather. That's what happens if you don't feather your selection. All right, let's select the inverse again. Okay, let's feather this time. I'm going to go ahead and leave it at 150 pixels, and you can experiment with that and see what looks good to you. Now I'm going to go down here and add a curves adjustment layer. We'll try this again. Change it to luminosity, and then I'm going to go ahead and drag this down. That's much better this time. I just want a nice, deep, dark background. So I think I'm going to go ahead and stick with that. I like that. Now, one thing that I've noticed is that I have this bright area in here, and I really want to bring more focus to this area right here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my dodge tool, and I really want to bring the highlights up here. So I am just going to go ahead and brush on that. and you can see that really lightens it up a lot. So I went from that to that. And then I want to go ahead and I want to add another curves adjustment layer to apply to the entire image. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give it a little bit of pop. So I'm going to drop an anchor in the middle, and I brought it up, brought the midtones up just a little bit. And then I'm going to drop an anchor here, and I'm going to drag it down just a little bit there. Oops. I'm going to pull up on my shadows, and I'm going to drop this down a little bit for my highlights. And so we just got a little bit of a difference right there. Now, one other thing that sometimes I do if I want to eliminate distractions differently than I do from the cloning is sometimes I use the brush tool. So, I mean, I'm pretty satisfied with this. The way that it is, I could lighten up this blossom even more, maybe bring this down a little bit to maybe even out that exposure a little bit more. But for now, what I want to show you is, for example, if I have like some branches down here, or some greenery, like in this case, sometimes I will go ahead and just add a blank layer, and I'll grab my brush tool, and then I will sample like any of the background colors here. We can just start anywhere, it doesn't really matter. And then click OK, and then maybe at about, we'll leave it at 40% and see what happens. But sometimes I'll like kind of make almost a vignette around it to kind of blur what's going on down there. And sometimes I'll do it on the top too. You can leave it in normal. Sometimes I switch it to soft light or overlay. It just depends really the style that you're going for. This was my second edit that we just went through here, and my original, I'm going to turn this off really quick and show you the original edit was right here. So I went a little bit deeper and more contrast with the second one, but in general I went through the same process with the cloning and the bit of a vignette. In this case I used, whoops, let me see, hold on, let me grab this. Um, I used overlay when I did the vignette in this one, so I did use the same one that I just showed you. But yeah, so you can use clone to eliminate distractions. You can use your brush tool to kind of darken some areas and really help draw the eye up into the area that you want it to be in your image. So hopefully you learned something from this, and if you have any questions, please let me know. But otherwise, I thank you very much for watching.